Welcome back to the Gunpla Network. I'm Murdoch, and it's about time I get to reviewing the recently re-engineered Master Grade Rick Dom. Before we begin though, I owe a big thanks to our sponsor, Canadian Gundam, for this kit. Looking for that next kit or tool to complete your collection? Canadian Gundam's got you covered. With a vast selection of Gunpla, Plamo kits, paints, and tools, you're sure to find what you're looking for. And then you have their flat rate shipping across North America and private warehouse options. But wait, there's more. Take advantage of their discount code Gunpla Network for 10% off your entire order at checkout. This Rick Dom is a fine showing of what revisiting a classic after 20-some years can do with the advancement of Bandai's own injection mold technology. The Rick Dom was developed as part of the United Maintenance Plan in the latter part of the One-Year War. By this time, the Zaku II had gone through a buttload of variant specialization models, including 2 high-mobility models that, along with the data from the Goof, would go into the development and creation of the MS-09 Dom and its space counterpart, the Rick Dom. The Rick Dom proved to be an overall higher-performing heavy machine compared to the lighter and slower Zaku II R2, with a hard acceleration of 0.67 Gs, and the capability of using beam armaments. Alright, so let's talk articulation. The Rick Dom's practically everything joint-related got a major overhaul. As you can see in this stripped-down version, getting him naked again after putting this guy together took a surprising amount of effort. The tolerances are very good and tight. There is very much an inner frame here, and it's just as chonky on the inside as it looks on the outside. Starting with the legs, you can get a fair amount of posability due to the hips and thighs being on a separate peg slot. And the hips mount to independent swivels on the waist. Your only real limitations here are the size of the feet with those bell bottoms and the armor skirt getting in the way. The torso has 2 major joints acting like a spinal column, enabling it to spin on the waist and hunch forward and back a little bit. The arms are mounted to the shoulders through a couple of peg slots to allow maximum rotation and extension. And the shoulder sockets, as you can see here, are hinged to help with that kind of posability. The hands are your fancy new articulate digit types, complete with lock slots to hold accessories. More on those in a bit. Aside from the elbows bending about as far as you can see here, there's nothing impeding the arms from spinning all around. But the best you'll get is a T-pose. The head is a little bit more interesting to me. As I said, this is my first Master Grade Xeon kit, so I don't have anything contemporary to objectively compare it to. The head covering easily pops off, and the mono eye is mounted to a ball joint, allowing you to orient it however you want, while the head itself is on a ball joint as well. When it comes to accessories, the Rick Dom comes with only a few. The heat rod, the giant bazooka, and the beam bazooka. The beam bazooka appears to be all new for this kit, and the jewel sticker does its job admirably. The giant bazooka is a case of if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and was taken directly from the Zaku II R2 kit, as I point out in the unboxing video. The build experience with this kit was a bit of a slow burn, I found. I found myself having to double check the manual because I had instinctively used the legacy parts at some points, which is both kind of a pain in the butt, but also nice to see that there's some reverse compatibility here. It does, however, make for plenty of unused parts on several runners. I found trying to pose this model having 2 particular difficulties, we'll say. The first is gripping Either bazooka can't really be done with the upper pistol grip slot. The shaping and proportions, and the wrists for that matter, won't allow it. So instead, we have to use the lower angled grip slots to hold the bazookas. It doesn't really look bad, it just doesn't feel quite right to me personally if you're trying to get a max aggression look holding the weapons over the shoulder. The other gripe I have is also why I don't have any footage of it on a stand. The new waist and hip mechanisms are something of a squared peg deal, and none of my stand adapters will fit to this guy, so we can't see him aloft like I would have liked to show. The Rick Dom standing next to the origin version of the Gundam, you get a better sense of its mass compared to Grandpa, as well as a pretty solid view of the seam line on the beam bazooka. Oops. Aside from my minor nitpicks with holding its big guns, and at least my lack of readily available hardware to get him off the ground, this kit is absolutely stable, given all of the weight in its lower extremities, helping lower that center of gravity. Now, what's shelf presence like? Well, my shelves are not a very good example. I don't have too many Xeon kits, and as I've stated before, this Rick Dom is my first master grade Xeon kit. So by default, it stands out on that fact alone. But what makes this kit cool is that totally blocky, kick-ass beam bazooka. Every time you see one pop up in any one-year war media on a Rick Dom, you know two things. First, they didn't make that many, so whoever's piloting that Dom is an absolute badass. And second is something is gonna get blown up sky high. Case in point, I submit Anivel Gato in his Rick Dom doing what he does best. So, in conclusion, this kit is a shining example of what happens when Bandai decides to give us hungry consumers what we're asking for every once in a while. Until next time, I'm Murdoch, and on behalf of the Gunpla Network, keep building.